Existence is Resistance. I'm here today with a very special guest, Professor of Political Science, author and activist, Professor Norman Finkelstein. Thank you for being with me here today. I want to ask you about your new book that came out. He has a new book called This Time We Went Too Far. Can you let us know about the title, where you got the title from?
The title comes from an article by the Israeli journalist Gideon Levy. This time we went too far. And basically it means that the things that Israel did in Gaza, no matter how much it tries, and no matter how much propaganda it spews out, it just is indefensible. And that's why, unlike previous wars, which are fairly quickly forgotten in the Middle East, the July-August 2000 attack on Lebanon, I doubt many people even remember it. But Gaza has this ghost, and this ghost won't go away. It's a shadow which trails Israel wherever it goes. And it's really the first time that's happened. It's been almost a year and a half since the attack on Gaza. And yet for Israel, it's almost like yesterday.
In the book, I know you speak extensively on the Goldstone report. Can you let us know briefly who Judge Goldstone is?
Judge Goldstone is an eminent South African jurist. He was on the equivalent of the Supreme Court of South Africa, and then he became an international prosecutor for a lot of the major war crimes tribunals on Yugoslavia and Rwanda, and then the United Nations Human Rights Council appointed him to head a mission to investigate what Israel did in Gaza. What made Goldstone a kind of unique figure is that he is, by his own statements, he's a Zionist, has devoted his entire adult life to supporting Israel. He sits in the Board of Governors of the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. He has an honorary degree from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. And so Israel could not use its usual weapons to discredit him. He couldn't very well, believably, call him an anti-Semite or a self-hating Jew or a Holocaust denier. And so although Goldstone's findings in his investigation merely echoed what all the other human rights organizations had to say, his report had a much bigger impact because Israel couldn't figure out a way to discredit it.
So what do you think about the Goldstone report and impact it will have on the future of the situation?
It really all depends on what we do with the Goldstone report. For example, I don't think it has much future in the Security Council because we know the U.S. will exercise its veto. But there are other possibilities. For example, I've said several times that the General Assembly should refer the Goldstone report to the International Court of Justice, and that the International Court of Justice rule that the Israeli blockade of Gaza is a crime against humanity. The Goldstone report called it a possible crime against humanity. So what the General Assembly could do is simply bypass the Security Council and send the report to the International Court of Justice and get the same ruling that the court gave in the case of the wall in 2004, when the International Court of Justice ruled that the wall was illegal. Now let's get a ruling that says the blockade is illegal.
I know also there's a new documentary out about you. It's called American Radical, The Trials of Norman Finkelstein. There was a part in the documentary that stuck with me. It's a part where you said that the Israeli invasion of Lebanon in the 80s is what really made you want to be more outspoken critic of what's going on. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Why?
Well, I've always been involved from a fairly young age. I've always been involved with politics. In my youth, it was mostly related to the Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement. By the early 80s, there wasn't really any cause I was deeply involved in. The movement at that time was starting up on the Central American wars, Salvador and Guatemala and Nicaragua. I was involved in that, but I wouldn't say I was deeply involved. I taught in a school for refugees from Central America, a free school. We taught them English at night. I started in June 1982 in Israel and Lebanon. I would go every day to the Israeli mission on it's either 2nd or 3rd Avenue on 42nd Street. And I literally would go at lunchtime. I would jog over from work to the embassy, hold my pickets, hold my sign, and then an hour later jog back to work, come back after work. And that went on from June 82 to September 82 until the Sabra and Shatila massacre. And that became my cause. You know, some people say, why did you pick this cause? I said, look, had it ended, I would have moved on to something else. Unfortunately, this thing is 30 years later and it's still going on.
We're having an event next week, Indefensible Resistance at Alwan for the Arts. Professor Norman Finkelstein is going to be the main speaker on the panel. We're going to have hip-hop artists Lowkey and Hassan Salam, Najla Saeed, she's an actress, playwright, and daughter of the late and great Edward Said. We're going to have Lamis D, co-chair of Al-Awda, New York, and also human rights activist. And we're going to have Hariya, a student from Birzeit University. We're going to have Jodie McIntyre, a journalist from the UK, joining us as well. Make sure you don't miss that event. Check out our website, existencesresistance.org. Make sure you check out Finkelstein's website, normanfinkelstein.com. You can get his new book at orbooks.com, orbooks.com, exclusively from that website. It's an amazing book. And try to check out the documentary as well, American Radical, The Trials of Norman Finkelstein.